Today I'm going to teach you how to add some natural additives to your soap. You can add various things to your soap to make it, however you imagine. And today we're going to be making a mango soap. We are using some fresh mango. And before you use any fruit or any kind of food additives in your soap, make sure to puree it first. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. It's really a lot of fun adding all kinds of natural ingredients to your soap for all the various benefits that they bring. Mango is definitely a really great additive for soap. It also gives it some interesting color. You can't have chunks of organic material food in your soap, otherwise that will rot in the soap, and that's not a very good idea. So make sure that every time you're going to add anything like fruit to your soap, or cucumber, some people like to add cucumber, whatever it is you're adding, make sure it's properly blended and pureed, and preferably you can pass that puree through a sieve to make sure that there are no chunks left. That's one of the keys to having a successful integration of things like this mango with your soap. So we're gonna go ahead. I like to add a little amount of water to my puree to loosen it up, and then I pass it through a sieve to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay, so now I'm going to put this through a sieve, make sure that there are no chunks left over. Good puree is part of the water content of your measurements for your soap, so you're going to need to factor that in when you're making the soap. So for the amount of puree you're going to use in your soap, you're going to need to deduct that amount of water from your recipe. So what I've done is I have put in less water than what I would normally use in my soap if I was not going to add any puree to the soap. I would use more water. So you're going to use 1/3 of your water content in your recipe as your puree content. In this case, I'm using about 300 grams of water in my recipe, so I'm going to be using 100 grams of the puree, which means I have about 200 grams in here, and I'm going to use 100 grams of the puree. Now, you do not add this until you have reached trace in your soap making, so this is going to be set aside. You always add these items at the end of the soap making process, just before you finally pour. You mix your soap once you're at trace, then you add the puree to it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to put this aside and actually measure out our 100 grams and then put it aside ready to be used in our soap. I have my jar ready. I'm going to get my scale on. Make sure that you include the weight of the container so that you get the exact measurement of the puree that you're putting in. And in this case, I'm putting in 100 grams. So we're going to set that aside. Now that we have all our ingredients measured out and ready to go, of course, I've pre-measured my oils and also pre-mixed my lye solution. If you want to know how to mix a lye solution, please refer to my video. I'm going to put the link down below so you can see how to mix lye. I'm also doing a video on the measurements and how to calculate how much lye you need in your soap depending on the weight of the soap that you're trying to make. So today I've already measured my oil, and today I'm doing coconut oil, straight coconut oil with some mango fragrance oil, mango puree, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and mix our soap now by putting the lye solution together with the oil solution and mixing it up. this is the stage at which we can add the fragrance oil and the puree. So what I'm going to do first is to add the mango puree. Now that I've gotten my soap well mixed, you can see that there's no separation anymore. So it's quite well mixed at this point. We can add in the mango puree. You can see that gives it a nice color. So we have a lovely color from the mango, but what I wanted to do is to add a little bit more color. This is the Mad Micah's Tangerine Dream. I have never used this, so I'm excited to see how that would turn out in the soup. So I'm gonna get that's what it looks like, and I'm gonna use about half a tablespoon. This is about 1 kilo of soap. So I'm going to put that in there. See how that gives it a nice orange color, but I think I want more of the orange, so I'm gonna add that gives it a really nice and bright orange. Finally, we're going to add our fragrance oil, which is the mango oil. I'm going to pour that in there. So we have our mold and now ready to pour our soap. Wow, look at that beautiful orange color. Very nice. I'll get my spatula. So here we are. Here's our mango soap, coconut and mango. It's very hard. Looks like it's going to cure really quick, and the weather is also quite dry right now, so I should expect that this would be ready within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it now.